I want to make this. I want to make that. I want to make this. Oh, I want to make that. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patricia. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. In this video, I am going to be talking about some truths about sewing, both positive and negative, that nobody tells you. Now, I decided to do this video especially for the beginners because I feel like some of the frustrations of sewing is not talked about so much. You hear the good, and the good is amazing. There are a lot of positives when it comes to sewing. I've come to realize that in life, things are not smooth. Sewing, YouTube, careers, everything that is good, everything that we all like, it's not so smooth. So sometimes when people don't tell you about the struggles and you encounter them, the likelihood of you giving up is high. So that's why I want to make this video for my newbies into sewing. I still consider myself a newbie. So I went ahead to jot down some discussion points. Let's get right into this video. Number one, you can save on money. When it comes to sewing, it is tricky. I'm going to leave this other points for a disadvantage where you tend to spend a lot of money, but let's focus on the advantage right now, which is you can save money when you sew your own clothes. When you buy clothes from the store, if you want a good quality clothing item, you will have to spend some money. At least you have to spend nothing less than $50, sometimes no less than $100. Now if you want to get into designer clothing, then you have to spend hundreds of dollars. If you are sewing your own clothes, you can make those same clothes for way less. If you want high quality clothes, I would suggest that you get fabrics that are high quality fabrics, and you will still not be spending a quarter of what you probably be spending when you're buying clothes from the store. That is why I say that you can save on a lot of money. So it depends on you, it depends on your taste. And I believe that, wearing good quality clothing is important. And when you make your own clothes, you can ensure that the clothes that you're making are of good quality, you're using good fabrics, your sewing technique is actually really good, your finishing is good. You will end up with a finished garment or a finished dress that is of good quality. Also, if you learn to sew, or when you learn to sew, you can go to thrift stores. When you go to thrift stores, you buy clothes that have been used. You can get very good quality items from there. You can bring it home and refashion it. If you don't want to refashion, you can alter it or you can resize it, and also upcycle. Refashion, upcycle, they're both the same thing, I believe. With thrifting, for example, even if you don't know how to sew, if you learn the basics of sewing, you can take your clothes in instead of taking it to a tailor who is going to charge you extra money on that. That is why I say that you save money when you learn to sew. Point number two, that you help the planet. You actually do help the planet. Now this one too is a bit on both sides. When you're thrifting, resizing, upcycling, refashioning clothes, you are reducing the amount of clothes that goes to the landfill. That is why I say that you save the planet. There's another side to it when it comes to creating waste when you sew, and I'm going to be talking about that in the disadvantages. My third point is you can make those designer clothes that you see online yourself. Yes, you can make those designer clothes for way less. This kind of ties also into the first point of being able to save money. If you are somebody who likes designer fashion, if you like luxury items, with the exception of shoes, if you want to learn how to make shoes and bags, well, that's a lot. But then when it comes to clothes, if you are the kind of person who likes to have a luxurious feel to your clothes, or you want your clothes to look expensive, feel expensive, then I would say that sewing gives you the opportunity to have that at a fraction of the price. You can go to your favorite designer's website, look at the clothes that they have, and whatever you want, you can replicate it. And voila, you have your designer version that you're wearing. So that really is an advantage when it comes to sewing. Number four, this also is a little tied into my third point. You can make any clothing item that you desire. Personally, the reason I got into sewing is because I love clothes. I like to look good. However, some of these clothing items can be so expensive, and I am frugal. I am so frugal. Sometimes I feel like my frugality actually hinders me from being great. I always want to save all of my money but then I also want to look good. So I am that fashion girl on a budget, right? So how was I going to be able to look good and still not spend an arm and a leg? For me, it was sewing. So back then, I would go through, magazines, and I'll see all these amazing clothes, and I wish I could actually just pop the clothes out of the magazine. Is that how you say magazine? Magazine. I wish I could actually pop the clothes out of the magazine. Hey, bro, out of the magazine. And then I used to like watching fashion shows. Also, when I take clothes to, the seamstress, they don't get the idea. You can sketch and everything, but the time they are done with it, it's something else. So for me, that really inspired me to learn to sew. So back to my point. Sewing will allow you to make whatever you want to make. So any clothing item that you desire, be it trend, be it a classic clothing piece, you can make it. Point number 4, you get to wear unique clothes. You are never caught matching with your fellow Forever 21 shopper. So this is just a little story. A few years ago, I was with my friend and we went to this event. I was wearing this dress that I bought from Forever 21. It was a simple dress. I liked it. Short, it was nice. When we got to the place, I was like, I feel like I'm going to find somebody wearing this dress I'm wearing, because this dress, the way it is, it's so obvious. And lo and behold, a few minutes later, that was my twin. My twin was staring at me, standing right in front of me. And I was like, what did I say? My friend was like, you were so right. How did you know? And I'm like, it's Forever 21. Everybody can have access to it. So yeah, when you make your own clothes, the chances of you finding somebody wearing the exact same thing in the same fabric, the same style, is really, really, really slim. You may find somebody wearing the same fabric, but in a different style. Or you may find somebody wearing the same style, but in a different fabric or in a different cut. So the chances of you finding somebody wearing the exact same thing is extremely slim. All right, so that is all that I have for the advantages, the benefits, the truths, the good part about sewing. And there is more. These are just the ones that I was able to put together. If you want to hear more, let me know in the comments below, okay? So I'm going to move on to the disadvantages. So disadvantage number 1, you become a fabric junkie. Oh my goodness, the fabrics. Now, when you go to the fabric store, there are so many beautiful fabrics. You want to come home with all the fabrics in the store, but that's not possible, right? When you see all these beautiful fabrics, you want to turn them all into clothes. When you start sewing, you have all these ideas. Oh, I want to make this. I want to make that. I want to make this. Oh, I want to make that. But you forget that it's actually a lot of work to sew. It's so much work. So you go to the store, you see all the fabrics, and you're like, this is beautiful. Oh, I want this. I want that. You buy the fabrics, and then when you start sewing, when sewing becomes stressful, you're like, I didn't sign up for all this frustration. But anyway, that's just besides the point. When you start sewing, and even when you have sewn and you encountered a lot of frustrations and you continue to sew, you will still want to pick up fabrics anytime you go to the store, when you see them online. The culture that I come from, we buy fabrics and take it to the seamstress. So buying fabrics is just part of us. But when you sew, especially, you become a fabric junkie. Point number 2, disadvantages. You get confused with sewing ideas, especially for me, because I can sew. I go online, Pinterest, Instagram, websites. So some of these things, you see these things and you want to make them, but sometimes you don't have the fabric that will make them. I have a number of ideas in my head that I want to make, but then when I go and take the fabric, it won't work well with the idea that I have in my head. So that's one of those. And also, you just get confused with ideas. You want to make all the clothes or the ideas that you have in your head or you have seen, and sometimes that can actually get overwhelming, and you actually overthink, and then you get exhausted, and then you just don't do anything. Point number 3, everybody wants you to alter their clothes or mend their clothes. One thing that a lot of people don't understand about sewing is not easy. People who sew don't like doing alterations because, one, you need to unpick it. You need to figure out how it was, constructed. Somebody made it. You have no idea. It's like, when you buy a house and you need to flip the house, when you start breaking up the house, you start seeing all these issues. That's how sewing is also. But when you're building the house from scratch, you know that, okay, this is the land you have. You know the details of the land, and you know the plan that you're going in with. So you just start with your foundation and you just carry on. But when it comes to altering clothes or mending clothes, and even refashion, thrifting, those things are not easy. When you are sewing, people are just going to ask you, oh, can you mend this for me? Oh, can you fix this button for me? Oh, can you fix my zip for me? No, I'm not fixing your zip for you. That is one of the reasons why I actually started my channel. My next point is incomplete projects. When you're sewing, you are going to have a number of incomplete projects. Some of them, you will have them for some time. I've had some incomplete projects for years. Some of them is because when I started sewing, I realized this is not going well and I abandoned them. So incomplete projects slash abandoned projects. You have a particular style in your head. You start making the dress or the garment and it doesn't turn out the way that you pictured it in your head, or whatever you saw online, it doesn't turn out that way, you abandon it. That has happened to me a lot of times. And I also have incomplete projects. Just completing the project is just, I just don't feel like completing it. Maybe fixing the button is just the annoying part, or creating buttonholes is just the annoying part, or having to, alter it just to fit my body better than it actually is at the moment. When I don't feel like just doing that, that project remains uncompleted for a very long time. Please, if you're beginning sewing, please try not to have too many incomplete projects. So point number 5, you will make mistakes and you will get frustrated. You'll be pissed. You will feel like giving up. Now, when you make mistakes, you get frustrated. My advice to you is take a break. I've done this several times because the more you keep working on the project, the more mistakes you're going to make. When you're working on a project and you make a mistake, just accept the fact that, okay, this is not going well. Leave it, forget about it, come to it the next day. If that's the amount of time you need, go for a walk, do whatever will bring down your anxiety or your frustration. Do whatever you need to do, but don't continue working on it, because the more you continue, the more mistakes you're going to make, and then you're going to end up having to unpick, and that is the worst part. It's really annoying if you have gone so far with your stitching and you realize, oh shoot, I've made a mistake and I need to unpick. When you make a mistake, just put it down and just go out for a walk, or come back to it another time. You come back with a different perspective, with a fresh mindset, fresh brains, fresh ideas to tackle the issue. The other point is that sewing can be expensive. It can be an expensive hobby. Just as I was talking about that in the fact that you get to save money, sewing can also be expensive. Buying fabric, buying thread, buying threads that match. You end up buying a lot of little things to finish a garment that ends up adding up. That is where sewing can get expensive. But then all these things that you buy, you end up using it for different projects. But sewing can be expensive, but I still think that it's still cheaper to sew than to buy from the store. That is relative though. Let's say it's cheaper to sew your own clothes and have that quality that you have to pay a lot of money for, as compared to when you buy the clothes. So let me just put it that way. The other point is you create waste. So remember I talked about saving the planet when you sew. Like I said, it goes both ways. You tend to create a lot of waste because you're cutting fabric and you're going to have all these scraps. There's some of the scraps you can keep and use for other projects, and every sewist will tell you they have scraps in their stash. Some of them you can make garments out of them, or you can make other projects, but some of them are so tiny you definitely have to throw them away. But I try as much as possible not to create so much waste. And when you also draft your own patterns, or even when you use commercial patterns, you will create some paper waste. For me, I don't like to cut the patterns. I like to trace it out. When I like the pattern, if it works well, I may end up keeping the traced out pattern and I don't have to always trace again. But if I don't like it, if it doesn't turn out well, or let's say if I drafted my own pattern and it doesn't pan out well the way I imagined it, I probably will have to throw it away. But what I try to do is I don't throw it away. I will keep it and use it for another project, maybe a smaller project that will fit into that pattern that I have cut out. As much as possible, I try not to, create too much waste. And also for the paper, when I really cannot help and I really have to throw it away, I try to recycle it. I haven't always done that, but now I've become aware of, recycling, and right now I'm crazy about recycling. So I try to do that. All right, guys. So these are the points that I had for both the advantages and the disadvantages. I feel like I wrote more disadvantages, but there are definitely more advantages that I am very sure that I haven't mentioned. If you saw and you can relate, please leave a comment below. If you have more advantages, please leave a comment below. Let's have a discussion in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead to subscribe. I want to thank all my new subscribers. I see people subscribing and I really appreciate you guys so much. Share my videos if you learned something out of it and you think someone else will also benefit from it. Like if you enjoyed it. See you in my next video. Bye.